What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we are back with another monthly Q&A, this one being the Q&A for November. Now, as always, I will be doing the channel member questions first and then the regular Discord questions after that, but I always like to start with the question in the thumbnail and title just so that you guys aren't sitting through a whole video to hear the topic you clicked on the video for. So I'll get to that one first and then the rest afterwards. If you guys are interested in getting Q&A priority as well as some other awesome rewards, then consider supporting the channel by becoming a member, or if you want to ask a question normally, then feel free to join the Discord as well. The link is down in the description. But with all of that out of the way, guys, let's get stuck right into the questions. So the first question that we have here, and it's actually a two-parter, is from Masters, and he says, best and worst part about the game so far, and then also for a novice video game player and a Battlefield fan, is it worth getting now or waiting until it's free through EA Play or Game Pass? So to answer the first part, the best part about the game so far is honestly it just feels like it's back to being that sort of like real sandbox experience like Battlefield 4. It really does feel like a sequel to Battlefield 4 to me, which I guess technically it really is. And so I am loving, I know a lot of people, I think mostly because of the specialist system, a lot of people feel like it isn't quite Battlefield, but to me it really does feel like the typical Battlefield game. Obviously, yeah, not having classes feels a little bit sort of weird to get used to, but to me it does really feel like that typical, you know, the Battlefield 3 and 4 days of Battlefield. So that's probably my favorite part so far. As for the worst part, I think just the way that it's running at the moment. For me, it's actually been pretty decent, to be honest. It's not running too bad at all on the Series X, but I know a lot of people are having some like genuine performance issues with it on PC and, you know, other consoles, and even on the Series X as well. So I think the worst part about it so far is just that it just kind of feels like it's not quite ready. Like I can kind of see why they delayed it now, and I don't think it's too far away from being ready, but I think like, yeah, it's probably going to need an extra month to kind of figure out those small little issues with the performance and server lag and stuff like that. And then yeah, I think it'll be in a pretty decent state after that. But yeah, I initially sort of jumped the gun thinking this felt really good, and again, to me on Series X it does feel good, but there is a lot wrong with the game right now. None of it seems unfixable, so I'm still pretty positive about the game. I'm feeling good about it so far, but yeah, it's definitely in a little bit of a rough spot right now for sure. As for the second part, it's kind of hard to say because I don't know how long it'll be until it's going to be on Game Pass and stuff like that. It will probably be at least a year. So if you're keen on waiting a year, then yeah, that's probably not a bad shout to wait a year, and it'll be, you know, in a much better state by then. Plus there'll be a lot more content, and you're going to get the game for free. So if you can be bothered waiting that long, it's probably not a bad idea. But yeah, it could be a year if not longer. And if you're not really that keen on waiting that long, then I'd probably say that yeah, it might not be worth waiting a whole year if you really want to play it right now. Now, moving on to the channel member questions, we've got two here, and one is from Alice, and he says, what's the greatest only in Battlefield moment you've captured so far? That's kind of a tough one. There's quite a few sort of moments that I've had that I'm just like, holy shit, what is going on right now? I'll show some of those on screen for you guys. There's one that I can think of where I think I was on Hourglass and I was sniping from one of the rooftops, and then one of the hovercrafts just flew straight past me up the wall and it went right over my head. That part was pretty hilarious. That wasn't anything like crazy, but it was just, yeah, typical Battlefield things. There's also a moment which I actually shared on Twitter where I flew out of a tornado. I actually had no HUD at the point because I was just trying to get some cool cinematic sort of footage. I was playing as Sundance, flew out of the tornado and flew onto the ship on discarded. Once again, there was a hovercraft trying to climb up the wall, and then I landed and got a kill. I didn't even know if the guy was an enemy or not because I had no HUD on. But yeah, that was a pretty awesome moment as well. And then there's just been, I'll try and show whatever else I can sort of find in my footage on screen for you guys, but there's been definitely a couple of moments that I'm just like, holy shit. That's kind of what I was saying earlier about why it feels like it's back to Battlefield for me, because I've honestly already had probably more of those like holy shit it's Battlefield moments than I did in Battlefield 5, to be honest. So the fact that the game's been a little bit rough already, but there's still these moments, that's a very good sign for me, and I'm having an absolute blast with it so far. The next channel member question is from a man Simon, and it's actually a two-parter as well. He says, are the specialists balanced in your opinion, or do some seem either overpowered or underpowered, and then also do you have a main yet? As for the balancing, honestly I do feel like they're actually pretty well balanced. Obviously like Sundance, I think by the time you guys are watching this, his shield will be fixed. I think they said today that they're putting it back in, but that was obviously broken at the start, so he was a bit overpowered. I think Jisoo has potential to be a bit overpowered, but I haven't really played enough time with Jisoo yet, and yeah, so I don't think she's necessarily overpowered just yet. And other than that, I don't think any of them are really overpowered at all. I think they actually somehow nailed the balancing pretty well. There are definitely a few that I feel are a little bit underpowered. I feel like Boris is like, who the fuck plays Boris, to be honest? Boris to me just seems completely pointless. I know his turret can probably be pretty handy, but yeah, I just don't really see the need to be playing Boris, so he feels a bit underpowered to me personally. And then I think Navin Rao seems underpowered, but I don't think he actually is. I think his hacking ability, it maybe needs a tiny little buff to the speed that it happens, but he feels like he could be really strong once I get the hang of him. So even the ones who feel a bit underpowered to me right now, I think they still have a place in the game. One thing I'll say is that I feel like McKay is borderline like just useless at this point, because if I'm going to play someone for mobility, I'm just going to play Sundance. So I think even though McKay was like the main character in the beta, I think honestly he's the worst. I don't think I'll ever play McKay again, to be honest. So yeah, I think they're balanced pretty well so far. It's going to be interesting to see in a few weeks from now, but at least as of right now, I haven't noticed any being overpowered. As for the second part about having a main, Sundance is my main 110%. I can't see myself ever maining anyone else. Sundance is just absolute buckets of fun. I'm having an absolute blast flying around with that wingsuit, and so yeah, I think I kind of called it before the game even launched that Sundance was going to be my main, and I can already tell that yeah, Sundance will be my main for a very long time. Now the next question we have is from Steve, and he says, best new feature and feature you want to see back the most. The best new feature I think for me is the plus system. I absolutely love the plus system. I think we're all kind of a bit skeptical about it, you know, leading into launch, because it could have been a bit OP if you could just make your weapon like good in every situation. But as of right now, it doesn't feel like it makes it, you know, it doesn't drastically change the gun, but it really just makes it sort of suit that situation a little bit better. So for me, that is easily the best new feature. As for feature I want to see back the most, I think a server browser. I think I'm not a big fan of there being no server browser, because it makes me a bit paranoid that there's actually skill-based matchmaking in the game, and I think that's the worst thing ever for Battlefield. So I think that's a feature that's always been a part of Battlefield, and I really hope they bring that back. I'm sure they will, because I know enough people are going to complain about it that they're kind of going to have to, and it's already in the game with Portal. So we know it's possible, and I think that they will add it back eventually, hopefully. The next question comes from Falador, and he says, what are your thoughts about sniping in this game? Now, in the beta, I'm not going to lie, the sniping felt absolutely atrocious. I thought it was just terrible, but it feels really good right now. I'm not sure what they changed about it, maybe just the velocity or something like that, I'm not too sure, but it feels a lot better right now. And I know I haven't actually unlocked them in game, but when I was using them in the early preview, I think it's the DXR1 and then the NTW50, those are both even better than the SWS. So the base sniper that you use is still, you know, pretty decent to use, and the other two just felt way better to me. So I think the sniping has actually been turned around pretty well, and yeah, I'm not sure what necessarily they changed, but it is feeling a lot better than it was in the beta. The next question we have is from my man Jazza, and he says, how do the guns feel balance-wise in relation to each other? For example, in Battlefield 5, SMGs have better hipfire and are better than ARs at close range, and ARs are better for mid-range. And then, are there any particular weapons that stand out as OP or underpowered? In terms of that sort of balancing where, you know, SMGs are good for close range and stuff like that, that's still the case in this game. One thing I'll say is that at least as of right now, recording this anyway, the ARs are kind of useless. They've sort of implemented Bloom into the game, which for those who don't know what Bloom is, I'm sure any of you playing probably would have noticed this by now, but Bloom is essentially where, like, as you shoot and as you hold down the trigger, and it also happens when you're moving and shooting, it's almost like there's a cone that moves out from the center of like your reticle. So the more that you fire, the more that your bullets spread. Now that's always a thing with hip fire. That's, you know, when you shoot in hipfire, you can see the actual crosshair getting bigger and bigger, but generally that's not the case when you're ADSing. However, it is in 2042, at least with the ARs anyway, and so the ARs feel definitely a little bit underpowered, just because you sometimes just aren't hitting shots that you really should be hitting. So I think the ARs kind of suck a little bit, to be honest, but I'm pretty sure they're going to fix that. It might have even been a bug that they didn't really intend to put in the game. But yeah, other than the ARs, I think most of the guns do feel pretty balanced. There's none that I've really noticed as a standout. I think the PP29 is definitely one of the better weapons. I think the DM7 is one of the better weapons too, but I don't think either of them are necessarily OP. And I think once like all the weapons are unlocked and everyone's kind of using everything, I think it will actually feel pretty balanced, because it feels pretty balanced right now. But I think until, you know, probably a month from now, when everyone's got all the guns unlocked and all the attachments and stuff, that's probably when we'll start to notice some imbalances, because there's always going to be stuff that's not balanced. But as of right now anyway, it actually surprisingly feels pretty good with the the balancing. But that is going to do it for this one, guys. Thank you all very much for tuning in, and thank you guys again for the questions. Like I said, if you guys want to join the Discord, that's where I sort of answer all these questions. The link to that is down in the description. And then if you guys want the channel member priority, then do consider supporting the channel and becoming a channel member. There's a bunch of other cool little rewards that come with that as well. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to leave a like down below. And if you guys are new to the channel, then be sure to subscribe with those notifications on. Thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you all out there on the battlefield.